Many thanks. Good evening, everyone, and thanks to Saudha International Literature Festival for the invitation to speak here. It's really lovely to see music focalized. Music is very close to my heart. I'm a lead guitarist and songwriter for the progressive rock group, The Multitude. And once upon a time, I had long hair like Bengt, but in my case, it's a case of hair today, gone tomorrow. So, well, art that heals is also art that perturbs, art that unsettles, art that rehumanizes, and art that galvanizes one to action. The renowned Nobel laureate and polymath Rabindranath Tagore wrote, "The world speaks to me in pictures, my soul answers in music." Images and words can act as totems of conscience and talismans of critical thought, helping recuperate a human ethical compass that may have, as Tagore states, lost its way into the dreary desert sand of dead habit. As an author of academic non-fiction, I see the power of the written word in its multifaceted avatars. There is a synergy of the senses and a polyphony of possibilities when the art as an amalgam of literature, film, theater, poetry, and painting can synthesize to speak to our troubled zeitgeist. At a time when the world stands on the precipice of catastrophe on so many fronts, herbicide, ecocide, femicide, scholasticide, epistemicide, infanticide, and genocide. How is healing even possible in the midst of this maelstrom of uncertainties? Rather than serving solely as an escape mechanism, can the arts galvanize us into a radical rejection of the torpor of complacency and uncaring, emboldening us to hold accountable the systems of power and domination that perpetuate injustice on the most weak and vulnerable? How can we reinstall the concepts of care, concern, and human solidarity when the threat of hate, bigotry, and violence have become so hyper-normalized? The arts, in their multifarious expressive forms, contain the seed of possibilities. The arts can act as the great leveler or equalizer, but they can also serve as a cautionary reminder, as T.S. Eliot asserts. The past should be altered by the present as much as the present is directed by the past. I think we can all agree at this moment that the world teeters at the edge of a potential apocalypse, a scenario that prompts me to reflect on Nietzsche's statement, "When you stare into the abyss stares back at you." The arts can be that mirror of critical self-evaluation to enable us to find inspiration, even in the bleakest moments, through introspective moments of epiphany. For me, the films of Swedish director Ingmar Bergman have been an enduring source of enlightenment about the human condition. In the film Through a Glass Darkly, a teenage character states, "Oblivion shall own me, and death alone shall love me," mirroring Bergman's own contemplation of his existential crisis, the meaninglessness of life, and realization of God's absence and silence. In my essay, Tracing Bergman in Contemporary Indian Cinema, Philosophical Cross Connections, I write about a state of aporia, which is a continuing waylessness, a human wandering in search for unattainable meaning. For the French philosopher Jacques Derrida, aporia, or the affirmation of waylessness, can be positive, liberating, and empowering. It imbues the individual with clarity, agency, and the ability to chart one's own destiny through an emancipating severance, particularly from the metaphysical enslavement of religion. It is fair to say we are living in an age of aporia, characterized by a collective desensitization, the oversaturation of mendacious media images dancing to the tune of political hate-mongering, all of which numbs us to the truth and rips apart our social fabric. Can the arts help us rediscover our shared humanity? Healing does not necessarily entail escape. Whilst art has the propensity to entertain us and transport us into the realms of otherworldly bliss, enabling us to travel vicariously through time and space and visit distant lands we would not be able to visit in real life, art that heals is also art that disturbs us, disorientates us, challenges our preconceptions and prejudices, and shocks us out of our complacency and complicity. Healing can be fostered through the arts and its ability to animate self-knowledge and self-realization, the acute intimation of our shortcomings, of our finitude and mortality, but also our ability to soar beyond shadowlands, transcending borders and limits of circumstances that govern or constrain us, to surmount walls that seem impregnable. The most urgent conundrum of our current time is to question the nature of our own complicity through collective amnesia, apathy, and silence in the face of the ongoing genocide in Palestine. I would like to refer here to Satyajit Ray's 1970s film Pratidwandi, which is The Adversary, about a disenfranchised and disillusioned young college graduate whose misanthropic and revolutionary sensibilities render him an outcast from the dominant mainstream power structures. Desperate for a job, he attends an interview panel comprised of three older men. They pose the interview question: what would you regard as the most significant event of the decade? The interviewers expect the young man to say, man's landing on the moon. Instead, he praises the heroic Vietnamese resistance against the US. When queried by the bewildered interviewers about why he would privilege the war in Vietnam over the moon landing, the young interviewee states, what it has revealed about the Vietnamese people, it's just plain human courage, and it takes your breath away. Perplexed, the interviewer then asks him, are you a communist? Needless to say, the young man does not get the job. This is reminiscent of the famous words by Brazilian liberation theologist, the Archbishop Dom Helder Camara. He says, when I give food to the poor, they call me a saint. When I ask why the poor have no food, they call me a communist. Literature can act as a convergence point for diverse and disparate voices. I'm currently working on an edited volume, Urban Violence and Marginalized Communities, Multidisciplinary Interpretations, which is a compendium of 18 chapters that endeavors to foster deeper understandings of diverse forms of urban violence beyond just criminal acts or physical violence. In a world ravaged by war fever, it is more important than ever for us to not become desensitized to the suffering of the most vulnerable amongst us. The genocide taking place before our eyes in Gaza sounds an urgent clarion call to stem the flow of the global arms trade. If we think of literature as an instrument of healing, then to achieve peace, surely the pen should be applied persuasively to prove that the pen is truly mightier than the sword. I attended a recent talk by Dr. Ghassan Abu Sita and Dr. Sui Ang, who are eminent British medical surgeons engaging in voluntary work, tending to victims on the front lines of the carnage in Gaza. They recounted their experiences about the mass annihilation of human beings and the destruction of the Al-Ahli hospital, which led to the dismemberment and deaths, mostly of little children. Listening to their first-hand experiences caused me to ponder, who needs healing? Do you and I, sitting here in London, need healing more than the human beings, the children, being maimed and exterminated every day in Palestine? Can we place our collective, global, planetary future in the microcosmic context of genocide in Gaza that is happening under our watch? I think healing is relative. It must prioritize those most desperately in need. An excerpt from the extraordinary book Time Shelter by Georgy Gospodinov seems apt here, and I quote, somewhere in the Andes, they believe to this very day that the future is behind you. It comes up from behind your back, surprising and unforeseeable, while the past is always before your eyes, that which has already happened. When they talk about the past, the people of the Aymara tribe point in front of them. You walk forward, facing the past, and you turn back towards the future. Continuing with the motif of time, James Baldwin contends that people are trapped in history, and history is trapped in them. Not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced. The final sentence in F. Scott Fitzgerald's The Great Gatsby reflects on our human condition. So we beat on, boats against the current, borne back ceaselessly into the past. I would like to conclude by saying the histories of violence and the ghosts of past genocides are playing out presently, right now, as we speak, in real time, in Palestine. If ever healing was needed at a crucial time, it is there. And it is now that we all have a collective responsibility to act, to bear witness, and to speak truth to power. No doubt the arts will be our indefatigable ally in this quest for collective catharsis. Thank you.